thank you all. Thank you all for being here today. I want to thank my friends in law enforcement, not just for their attendance here today, but for all of their hard work and efforts on behalf of this community and of all the people of the state of Illinois. I'm pleased to be joined here by a number of folks. Judy Hoos, Peoria County State's Attorney, Eric Echevarria. Did I get the accent right? All right. Peoria Chief Police, Chris Watkins, Peoria County Sheriff, and I also want to thank local legislators, Senator David Kaler, my very good friend for a very long time, and Representative Ryan Spain. Thank you guys for being here. I also want to recognize other members, including individuals. And I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. People who have also been carjacked described similar feelings: distrust, anxiety, fear, anger. They feel personally violated. There are a lot of lasting psychological scars because these crimes occur in what we view as a safe space and involve something that most of us do every single day: simply getting into our cars and driving, many times with our kids or grandkids in the back seat. The bottom line is that people shouldn't have to fear that they'll be robbed of their vehicle at gunpoint when they get into their vehicle each day. Vehicle thefts present problems beyond the loss of a ride. Criminals use stolen cars to commit violent crimes. They can obtain personal information from glove boxes and steal an owner's identity. And they have access to things like garage door openers that allow them entry into someone's home. Catalytic converter thefts have also become a growing problem, with incidents rising in number throughout the state. These valuable devices located in the exhaust systems of vehicles contain precious metals and can sell for more than $1,000. The thefts are often carried out quickly, with thieves using electric saws to remove the converters from the vehicles. Some thieves can steal a converter now in less than 1 minute. There's no single solution, obviously, but ensuring that law enforcement officials in Peoria have the funding and tools they need to combat these crimes is absolutely critical. Working together, we will continue to not only make our roads safer, but also our communities, neighborhoods, and business districts. This funding gives them financial resources that will enhance efforts to strategically prevent carjackings, auto thefts, and metal thefts. The grant originates from the 11-member, are you ready for this mouthful? Illinois Vehicle Hijacking and Motor Vehicle Theft Prevention and Insurance Verification Council, which is overseen by my office. Peoria County State's Attorney Jody Hoos who is our host here today, serves on this council. The funds are raised from an annual assessment on automobile insurance policies, and the Illinois General Assembly also appropriated an infusion of $30 million last year to help with these important public safety efforts. So I want to thank our friends in the General Assembly for understanding the critical nature of this grant. The Secretary of State's office convenes regular meetings of these council members and awards funding to assist law enforcement entities, including the Secretary of State Police, to prevent carjacking and motor vehicle thefts. And I want to thank the 11-member council for their hard work in helping to select these grant recipients. Statewide, my office is awarding more than $21 million to help 6 law enforcement entities increase manpower, tools, and strategies to combat carjacking and motor vehicle theft. Since this important program moved under my office's authority in 2018, more than 4,700 stolen vehicles have been recovered at a value of approximately $92 million. I want to sincerely thank the entire Peoria law enforcement community for their efforts to protect residents in this community from motor vehicle theft and violent crimes such as carjacking. Working together, we can and will make our streets safer for everyone. I care deeply about Peoria. I've been here many times. I've got friends here, very close friends, and not just politically, but personally, Peoria and the safety of its residents is something that's very important to me. I've heard both anecdotally and through statistics the challenges that Peoria County is facing with motor vehicle thefts and carjackings. So I'm excited to be here today with all of you. I'm excited to announce this grant, but please know that our job here is not done. We have a lot more work to do, and ideally I can come back every single year and continue to work with you all. I'm going to let some other folks say a few words, and then at the end, if you guys have any questions, either myself or Adam from my office can help out. So first I'd like to ask Peoria County State's Attorney Jody Hoos to come say a few words. Jody?
Thank you.
Thank you.
First, I want to thank Secretary of State Janulius for overseeing what I'll just say is the council. There's so many words in that title that I can't even remember them, and I'm on the council. But thank you for your oversight in that. Thank you for being here today. That means a lot to us here in central Illinois in the Peoria area. Our local legislators, Ryan Spain, Dave Kaler, thank you so much for not just your presence here and your support. Tackling crime is tough. It's not an easy job, but it makes our job easier when we have legislators that back certain initiatives and help fund certain plans that can be put in place to tackle specific parts of crime. And that's what we have here, so thank you. I've been a member of the council now for about 3.5 years, and I've been able to see the good that other task forces have had, the success that throughout the state of Illinois. I've also last year, 622. That's nearly a 3.5 increase. Apparently 3.5 is the magic number to get this all rolling here today. But we know also in law enforcement that crime doesn't just stop when the car is stolen. Those stolen vehicles are then often used to commit even more violent offenses, such as armed robberies and burglaries. That is why I'm so very pleased to be standing here today with all of these individuals who have helped make this happen. And I'm so very pleased to bring this task force to our community. These funds, which, as the Secretary of State mentioned, this will be a 4-year cycle, so we're hoping to put in, if everything goes well, to put in again in the future, and if we successfully get those grants, for a 4-year total of $8.6 million to combat and target this particular type of offense. We will use those funds to improve technology. We will have dedicated detectives as well as dedicated prosecutors, all working together so that we have a concentrated focus on reducing auto-related theft crimes in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce the Peoria Chief of Police, Eric Echevarria. Eric?
Good afternoon. I want to start off by thanking Secretary of State, our local legislators, the Illinois Vehicle Hijacking and Motor Vehicle Theft Prevention and Insurance Verification Council for their gracious gift of $2.1 million to create the Greater Peoria Auto Crime Task Force, or GPACT. Since 2021, Peoria County has seen a historically high number of crimes related to carjackings and motor vehicle thefts. During that time, we have had 35 aggravated vehicle hijackings, 10 vehicular hijackings, and 2,005 motor vehicle thefts. Think about those numbers for just a moment. In 2023, in Peoria, we've already had 293 stolen vehicles. That's 3 months. Although there is not one single solution for this growing problem, the collaborative efforts between the Peoria County State's Attorney, Jody Hoos, Peoria County Sheriff Watkins, Secretary of State Police, and the Peoria Police Department will be a game changer for our community and the surrounding areas. The partnership with the State's Attorney will provide consistency to the investigations and prosecution for these types of crimes by providing greater offender accountability. The task force brings together multi-agency partners who will closely monitor and address the criminal activity that has been plaguing our community for years. Our ultimate goal is to reduce the high numbers we have seen. This task force will help in spotting trends and identifying suspects across Peoria County. So to those of you who are listening and want to continue causing violence in our city, I want you to know that this task force is committed to stopping you. Like I have said before, you have 3 options. Don't do the crime, leave our county, or go to jail. We will not tolerate this behavior any longer. These crimes impact the families in our community, and we are committed to addressing the illegal activities and providing a safer Peoria for all through this essential partnership. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Now I'd like to introduce the Peoria County Sheriff, Chris Watkins. Chris? Oh, there you are.
Good afternoon. Peoria County Sheriff Chris Watkins. I first want to say thank you for our stakeholders in the room, especially State's Attorney Jody Hoos. She has spearheaded this, the implementation of the task force. So thank you very much. Carjackings are obviously a very serious crime that involves use of weapons and threat of violence. It can be a traumatic experience to our victims that have long-lasting effects of their lives. Catalytic converter thefts might not be violent, but it still is wreaking havoc in our communities right now. Our task force will focus on several key areas: prevention, investigation, and prosecution. We will work to identify high-risk areas, develop strategies to reduce the likelihood of these crimes. We will also work closely with other law enforcement agencies to investigate and apprehend those that commit these crimes and ensure that they're brought to justice. I look forward to working together with the agencies that are involved in making Peoria a safer place and to raise our families. Thank you.
Now I'd like to introduce my very good friend, Senator Dave Kaler. Senator?
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. It's a pleasure to once again have you in Peoria because you always bring good news to us, and we need these resources. I'm just going to tell you a story. So my wife and I like to walk in Springdale Cemetery, and it's near our house and just a beautiful place. And so we always park down on Perry Street towards the bottom end of the cemetery. And one day we were there, and there was a couple that had just gotten out of their car, and they were looking kind of perplexed. And they said, "You may not want to park here." I said, "Well, why? We always park here." I said, "Well, we're from Wisconsin, I think." And so we just moved here. And we parked and wanted to walk in the cemetery, and we came back, and somebody had stolen our catalytic converter. And I said, "Oh, my goodness." So the police came, and you know, what a first impression to make. Now, I've not had my catalytic converter stolen. I haven't been carjacked, but I have been robbed at gunpoint, and it's kind of a harrowing experience. You know, when I was growing up in high school, we used to be able to hotwire cars. And of course, that was what thieves would do, is they'd hotwire your car. Well, anymore you can't do that. I mean, I wouldn't begin to know how to hotwire a new car. But these are the kinds of things that really disrupt a community. And it creates a feeling of being insecure or not safe. And so I commend you, Secretary, for doing this, for overseeing this program. We have excellent law enforcement in this community. You know, from our state's attorney to the sheriff to the chief of police, we have excellent law enforcement. What we need to do, if it's really a priority, is we need to make sure that the resources are there for them to have the ability to solve crimes like this. And so, again, this is a good combination of what resources the state, your office, can bring to local law enforcement and for our folks to do the good work that they do. So, thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And lastly, I'd like to introduce State Representative Ryan Spain. Ryan?
Well, let me extend my thanks and appreciation to the Secretary of State as well. I appreciate the invitation to be here and his support for bipartisan initiatives and his commitment to continue to working together in many good ways on behalf of all the people of the state of Illinois. And then again, thank the Secretary, our state's attorney, our leaders in law enforcement for this opportunity. This is a big deal for the Peoria area. More than $2 million dedicated to tackling a problem and maybe continuing the theme as some of our other speakers have mentioned. The theft of vehicles has become a major issue in our community. It was a few years ago I woke up in the morning and found a stolen vehicle that had been driven into my backyard. And that vehicle was not only stolen, but contained stolen property from another victim. And so these types of crimes create a ripple effect that we're here to put a stop to. So this is a very good initiative. I think whether it's carjackings or catalytic converter theft, or even we've seen, and many of us have auto dealers located in our legislative districts, the disruption that has happened when some of these sophisticated criminal networks target auto dealers and steal cars directly from dealerships. So this has become a big problem, and these funds will go a long way to putting a stop to it. I commend the Secretary of State for his leadership and for bringing this opportunity forward to us. Thank you.
Thanks, well, once again, I want to thank you all for being here. A special thank you to law enforcement for all their hard work and dedication to this community. Last point I want to make, this is what government and leadership should be about. Everyone working together, law enforcement, state's attorney, elected officials, to handle and help out wherever we can in this community and every community throughout the state of Illinois. So again, thank you for all the hard work that you do. Thank you for your leadership. I'm thrilled to be back in Peoria, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. And Adam might also chime in, and he is an expert on the task force. So thank you very much. Any questions?
Can you talk about this grant going to specific resources, whether that be tools, manpower, whatever you listed off? What specific tools or manpower is that exactly going towards?
So again, it depends. I might take this, but it depends on who is the recipient of the award. The proposals are sent to the council. The council then makes these awards based on the proposals, and it can be new technology, manpower, resources, drone technology, depending on what part of the state or which agency. So we've seen different proposals have different use of funds. It's recovery, it's investigation, and it's prevention.
Going off of that, I mean, a lot of these offenses come from youth repeat offenders. I think this might be best for you, Jody. How do we make sure that they, 12 hours, you know, they get arrested, they're in jail for 12 hours, they get released back on the streets and do it again, not even 24 hours later? How do we make sure that that stops?
Well, I think part of the problem with the youth offenders are the adults that are running the show here. So the adults are the ones that we really have to go after, because sometimes, as you point out, when they're too young to put out the JDC or they score out of the JDC, then there's not a lot we can do in those certain situations. But what we find is there are adults that are putting these younger offenders up to it, and that's who we need to tackle. And I think, you know, when we don't have a designated law enforcement part of this, either prosecution or police. We just don't have the resources to go after those as we would like to, but that's what this task force is going to have, the resources to do that.
One question I would have is just, we see a major increase in carjackings and auto thefts, but why? Why is there an increase?
Well, I don't know anyone here could answer that. Well, let me rephrase that. There's someone here who can answer that.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Yes, excellent question. A lot of what we have been seeing traditionally the last couple of years is that the pandemic created a lot of fraudsters, people being home with a lot of extra time on their hands, getting hold of computers and so forth. And we were seeing a lot of that with fraud in other areas, but now that everybody's getting back to work, that is kind of starting to dry up, and that fraud you are starting to see is coming into our car dealerships, which was referenced here a little bit ago, coming into our private party sales and purchases of vehicles and so forth. That coupled with some technological flaws in certain manufacturers have absolutely spiked the thefts of vehicles throughout the nation, not just solely here in central Illinois. But those are a couple of.
I'm going to make one last point just to echo that, and this is based on conversations we've had with law enforcement, and maybe you guys can echo it. You know, these individuals that are involved in these carjackings and motor vehicle thefts, they're not, you know, dumb. They actually know what they're doing. In some cases, they're entrepreneurial. They know where to strike. They know what vehicles to go after. They know what time of day to hit. They know where to steal, when to steal. That's why these resources are so important, because we are dealing with very intelligent and capable criminals. And as was mentioned earlier, you know, we have to send a message that this is not allowed, and safety is paramount to every single thing we do, not just in Peoria County, but throughout the state of Illinois. So again, thank you for being here. Thank you for your hospitality, and thank you to law enforcement for all their hard work. Thank you so much. Thank you, Johnny.
Go back out that way then. Yep.
Thanks so much.
You can go back out that way if you want, unless you guys are talking to people.
Thanks, man. I enjoyed talking.
Okay.
I'm up here in Chicago.
Yeah.
Good to see you, bud. You too, sir. Thanks for being here. Good to see you. Thanks. Thanks, man. Thank you for being here.